Hello and welcome to the World News on Voice of the People TV. I am Masinachi Okafor. Before we begin the news today, kindly visit our website www.vop.ng for fresh and trending news. We begin the news today from where the French President Emmanuel Macron will address the nation a day after Prime Minister Michael Barnier was removed in a no-confidence vote. Barnier is likely to be asked to remain in post in the interim. Barnier's government collapsed after lawmakers voted overwhelmingly in support of the motion against him just 3 months after he was appointed by President Macron. The vote was the first time in the French government had been voted down by Parliament in more than 60 years. South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol is facing mounting pressure to resign over his failed attempt to impose martial law as Parliament moves closer to a vote on his impeachment. The capital Seoul has been a second day of street protests demanding President Yoon's resignation, while police said he was being investigated for insurrection. The opposition is pushing for a vote on the motion to impeach Yoon, even as the present party has said that they are against it. South Korea was plunged into political crisis when President Yoon made the shock martial law declaration, citing threats from anti-state forces in North Korea. However, it soon became clear that his move was not spurred by external threats, but by his own domestic political troubles. The U.S. Secret Service Acting Director Ronald Rowe will appear before a House of Representatives panel investigating security lapses involved in 2 failed assassination attempts of President-elect Donald Trump. Acting Director Rowe will testify as a task force of 7 Republicans as 6 Democrats prepares to issue a final report on its investigation. Rowe said in prepared testimony ahead of the hearing that it is important for the agency to recognize the gravity of its failure, adding that the agency almost lost Donald Trump. The Secret Service has faced questions over its staffing levels and communication capabilities after Trump twice survived attempts on his life during this year's presidential campaign. Donald Trump's embattled nominee for Defense Secretary, Peter Hegseth, says he still has the president-elect's backing after reports suggested his nomination may be withdrawn over allegations of misconduct. Also, Trump is reportedly considering replacing Pete Hegseth with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis after Hegseth's nomination came under heavy scrutiny. Since Trump nominated the former Fox News host, questions about Hegseth's qualifications have been raised and a past sexual assault allegation has surfaced. He also has denied any wrongdoing, saying that he was never arrested or charged. Investigators are searching for clues that could help them identify the masked gunmen who followed and killed the leader of one of the largest U.S. health insurance companies on a manhunting sidewalk and then disappeared into Central Park. United Healthcare Chief Executive Officer Brian Thompson died in a dawn ambush as he walked to the company's annual investor conference at the Hilton in Midtown. The killing and the shooters' movements in the minutes before and afterward were captured on some of the multitudes of security cameras present in that part of the city. New York City Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch said that while investigators had not yet established a motive, the shooting was no random act of violence. The Syrian army says that opposition forces have entered Hama city after intense fighting, promoting its units to redeploy outside the strategic city in another major blow to President Bashar al-Assad. The army said in a statement today that it was redeploying its forces to preserve civilian lives and prevent urban combat, reversing an earlier claim that denied rebel fighters had entered the city. Opposition commander Hassan Abdul Ghani posted on social media earlier today that his fighters had begun entering Hama, which they had been laying siege to since Tuesday amid heavy fighting overnight with the Syrian army, which was backed by heavy Russian air attacks. Gaza's Ministry of Health says Israeli attacks on the territory have killed 48 Palestinians and wounded 201 others. The director of the Nasser Hospital, Atif Ahut, who made this known in an interview, said women and children were burned in the attack. Israel's attack in Gaza has killed at least 44,580 Palestinians and wounded 105,739 since October 7, 2023. At least 1,139 people were killed in Israel during the Hamas-led attacks that day, and more than 200 were taken captive. Joining us to analyze the stories is VOP TV in-house analyst, Mr. Peter Anasike. You're welcome, Mr. Peter.
Thank you for having me.
All right, starting from the story of President Macron, electing his person, and now we're hearing that he was, voted. There was a vote of no confidence on him, and what do you think are the immediate actions of President Macron? What do you think the action should be to address this political crisis and this instability in the city?
Well, it will be impossible for him because it is not within his power. His party failed to get a majority in the parliament. So this is the cause of what is happening. So his party and Macron himself they are in a political turmoil at this point in time because one, they don't have the majority in the parliament, so they cannot unilaterally pass any resolution on their own. They need the help of the other parties,
okay,
which have now failed to do any business with them. It was because of this that the Prime Minister was given a vote of no confidence. And the people had expected Macron to resign too, because about 3 months ago, Macron called for a shock election, which was a surprise to everybody. But during the election, he was able to secure his own victory, but his party lost in the parliament. His party lost the majority in the parliament. And since then, it has been one crisis after the other. So they are not having it good, both internally and externally.
Okay.
Externally, about 3 countries has expelled Senegal, Chad, and another country has expelled France soldiers from their country. They say that they are sovereign countries. They need to guard their country by themselves. So they're not having it easy both inside France and outside France.
All right. So what do you think, what will the collapse of the Prime Minister Barnier's government impact have on France's economy policies and, of course, their budget?
One, I say that the not majority in the parliament.
Yeah.
So it will not be easy for them to pass any budget or to take any resolution, because in their parliament you need a majority to pass any budget or any resolution. So what they are fighting now is to ensure that Macron will also resign. And I want to say that his days are numbered, because with Donald Trump coming on board, Donald Trump is not, Emmanuel Macron is not on the same page with Donald Trump. And with tariff,
yeah,
that Donald Trump is coming up with, France is going to be hard hit. And once France is hard hit, the economy will be affected, and that will give there will be more inflation, and that will give the party in the opposition more power to begin to fight. So I don't see Macron being there in the next 6 months.
Like, so you don't see him being there in the next 6 months, and how he's not, best friends with Donald Trump. But then, why is that so? What do you think are the demands of these people for a new government?
Well, because their economy is collapsing. There's high rate of inflation that's in the country. Understand? So people are becoming dissatisfied by the day. Understand? In short, populism is taking over everywhere in Europe. Germany, it is happening. Understand? Germany, it is happening. It happened in Brazil. It happened in Argentina, which are South American countries. And it is the same. It is the same populism that also brought Donald Trump to power. So there's a kind of a mind shift in the world today.
Well, if we say that we are also suffering the same thing here in Nigeria, there's also inflation, and the economy has really faced a lot of things in Nigeria, and we know that Nigerians are practically on the edge right now. So if we should say that what's happening with Macron and the economy over there, how do we tailor it down to what's happening here in Nigeria?
Well, they are more advanced than us with regard to development to exposure. Understand? An instance in Finland, if government fails to supply electricity to the citizens can sue government. If the government fails to supply water, the citizens can sue government and ask for compensation. But it doesn't happen in Africa. Understand? Mm-hmm. So that shows the degree of exposure or advancement. So what we can endure in Africa, they cannot endure it there. There was a time that there was a 2p increase in the price of bread in UK. UK was shut down. People went on a protest because there was an increment in the price of bread by 2p. By 2p, they have to go on a protest. But today, Tinubu don't know how much bread is sold in the market. So we are not on the same. Understand? So what we can endure in Africa, they cannot endure it there.
Okay, what we enjoy here,
what we can endure here, they cannot endure it.
But a lot of people have said that it's more of a disadvantage to us here in Nigeria, because it feels like the more people keep, the more you keep stretching Nigerians, the more they keep looking for ways to be able to manage themselves and to be able to keep going on. And then a lot of people have also, said that most times in Nigeria we minor in the majority and major in the minor. So how do you actually judge that as well?
That's what I'm talking about. The degree of exposure or development. Mind you, we were under a military regime for more than 30 years. Before 1999, when we had a civil rule. So our mentality has been conditioned to be obeying orders.
Okay.
Understand me?
Yeah.
Those people, many of them had their last military rule over 400 years ago. So understand? So their fundamental human rights are being respected, are being observed more than we in Africa.
Okay.
Understand me? So they are more free to speak than us. Understand? You don't get castigated, you don't get wounded, you don't get arrested because you criticize the president. There was a time that people threw eggs on Macron. Nobody was arrested. But throw eggs on Tinubu, police will shoot whoever threw that egg. Understand?
Yeah.
So we are not living in the same world.
So how do you think that, knowing fully well that, like you said, that President Macron might not have much time to spend, less than or more than 6 months as Trump takes up power in January next year, how do you think he'll be able to rebuild the trust that with the French public and maybe restore the confidence in his leadership and make sure that he gets to retain power as long as he should?
I don't see it coming because Donald Trump is coming with 25% tariff on anything coming into the United States
yeah,
from Europe. It's going to cause a huge inflation. And once there's inflation, prices of groceries and other things go up. This is already what they are complaining now with Biden, who is a friend of Macron in office. So they are complaining now. When Trump comes with his tariff, the prices of things is going to go far higher. So there's nothing that he can do. So the pressure is going to be too much on him, and the revolt will increase. People will be looking for an alternative to Macron.
Looking for an alternative to Macron. Any alternative in mind?
The party that has the majority now, understand, all they need is to form a coalition. Yes, and win.
All right, let's move on to South Korea, where we had the President Yoon Song-yeol, who pronounced martial law in South Korea. That was yesterday, day before yesterday. Day before yesterday, where we had they saw a lot of protests. We saw that the people refused and made sure that that decree was reversed after 6 hours, and people are asking that he should either resign or that there's a threat of impeachment. How do you react to that?
Well, that shows that power really belongs to the people.
Okay.
That shows that power belongs to the people and that those in government are holding that power on behalf of the people.
The people.
Because when he decreed that the martial law, people went on a protest at their parliament.
Immediately.
Their parliament was not on seat. They have to jump at the fence, jump through the windows to come and reverse it. Understand me? They have that to come that this martial law does not sit well with the people, and the people said no. So those in the parliament have to rush to the parliament to do the bidding of the people, to do the way of the people. He has thought that if we use North Korea as an excuse, that the people would buy it.
Right.
But the people said no, that we don't want a martial law.
But he also did say, sorry to coach you there, it was also said that he is part of the minority, and most of his ideologies, and the budget that he presented for 2025 was not agreed upon, which he also felt that people were rubbing hands. The majority were running hands, were rubbing minds, and dining with the North Korean government, which he was scared that about his rule in South Korea, and a threat to maybe destabilizing the South Korean government and the works happening there. But then
that was the propaganda.
Okay.
That was the propaganda. But if he has gotten away with the martial law, okay, he don't need the parliament anymore to rule that country. So that was where he was going to use martial law and begin to rule that country, so that he will not need the parliament to do anything for him. He will now be ruling with decrees, like a military government. But the people say, no, we still cherish this democracy. We want this democracy to continue, understand? So that's where the voice of the people counts. That's where the will of the people are respected. When a leader is going on the wrong direction, the people have right to say, no, you have to come back or you go. So with what happened now, I'm sure by tomorrow or Monday, he will be impeached.
Oh.
By tomorrow or Monday, he is going to be impeached because the people have rejected his administration.
All right. So talking about being impeached by tomorrow on Monday, there has been like a pattern that the South Koreans and the South Korean government has sort of followed. Going by my data here, from 1948 to 1960, their president was overthrown. 1960 to 1962, their president was also overthrown. That's Yoon Bong-seong. Park Chung was also overthrown from 1962 to 1979. He was assassinated as of 1979. The president from 1979 to 1980 was removed by a military coup. Also, 1988, their president was sentenced to death after his presidency.
Yes.
It's like a pattern. Then in 1993, their president was, sentenced to 22 years in prison.
Over corruption.
After his presidency. 1998, sentenced to prison. 2003, imprisoned under, imprisoned as well. 2008, was impeached. 2013, after his presidency, he was arrested for corruption and sentenced to 50 years imprisonment. Then 2013 to 2016, their president, Park Chung-hee, was impeached and arrested for corruption and sentenced to 24 years in prison. Also now, also the recent president that left was, there was no imprisonment. And now, this current president is likely to be impeached. What is going on in South Korea? Is this something that they are doing that we are not, learning from in Nigeria?
No, there, as I said, power belongs to the people.
There or everywhere?
There, not in Nigeria. Here, the people have no power.
Why?
Because our elections are not credible. Our judiciary is not transparent. There's no justice system in Nigeria. We have a legal system, but no justice system. So their justice system works. That's why a president can be jailed. Understand? Mm-hmm. That's why a president can be impeached. Understand? Have we ever impeached a president in this country with all the mess that is going on in the country? People retire and go to their houses. If Buhari was in South Korea, he's a South Korean, he would have been in prison as we speak. But he messed the country up, and for 8 years, the masses are suffering. Over 130 million Nigerians in multidimensional poverty. He went home and is relaxing. If it's in South Korea, it will not happen. You have to account for your street worship. You have to tell the people how you spent your 8 years. Assuming that it is the INEC chairman is from South Korea, he will have been in prison now. You cannot use 300 billion and conduct an election that was messed up and you go home and be free. So for me, that's a society that Nigerians should try to grow up to, where no nonsense is tolerated.
Right. Well, a lot of Nigerians on social media were, saying that Nigerians should draw strength and should draw advice from South Korea, saying that most of them did not decide to stay at their homes, waiting for something to happen, that they took the action, by themselves. So do you actually ever see that happening in Nigeria, or do you see that nothing of such would ever happen in Nigeria here, saying that people would come out to fight for us, for themselves, and holding the government accountable regardless of the tribe or the religion and whatever the case may be?
Well, mind you, what happened was that they rushed to their parliament.
Yeah.
That's our own version of the National Assembly.
Understand?
They didn't begin that to march on the streets. They didn't go to occupy Ojota, which has nothing to do with National Assembly. So assuming that Nigerians are occupying the National Assembly, things would have changed. Understand? Things would have changed. But when the government messed up, we will now begin to suffer ourselves, understand, by marching on the streets and even vandalizing people's things. Understand me?
Yeah.
So it doesn't add up. The enemy of the people is government. When something happens, Nigeria should face those in government, those in Aso Rock, those in the National Assembly, those at the Supreme Court. If Nigerians can then to begin to go and occupy those areas. Because when South Korea happened, they did not begin to protest on the streets, understand, and say nobody should go to work or nobody should go to school. They marched to the National Assembly, understand? And because they marched to the National Assembly, the government was shaking, understand? If Tinubu does something wrong and you are here in Lagos protesting, it doesn't make any meaning.
Okay, it doesn't make any meaning. But the Kenyans took to the streets when the tax bill.
No, they attacked their parliament. Their parliament were jumping out of the windows.
Okay.
Go and watch it.
Of course, yeah, that was what I wanted to say.
They were jumping out of the fence. Has that ever happened in this country? So we are fighting wrongly. That's our problem. We should learn from Kenya. We should learn from Tunisia. We should learn from South Korea.
But during the NSAS protests, our people took to the streets and camped on the Lekki toll gate, which we all knew what happened.
How did that affect Buhari?
Well, we saw a lot of our people that died as a result of that.
That's the thing. I said, how did the occupying Lekki toll gate affect Buhari?
But at least our people tried. But at least Nigerians came out to do something. So you feel like we should push, Nigerians should push for.
The focus should be going to the National Assembly, Aso Villa,
okay,
the Supreme Court. This is where our enemies are staying. They're not staying at Ojota. They're not staying at Lekki toll gate. So we should change the way we protest.
All right. Okay. No problem. I know that people are watching, so let's hope that they take that to heart. Well, the U.S. Secret Service Acting Director Ronald is set to appear before a House of Representatives panel investigating security lapses involved in two failed assassination attempts of President-elect Donald Trump. A lot of people mentioned that the assassination attempt was just a ploy to, bring a lot of people to vote Trump. That was not real. That was just Trump being Trump and acting movies.
I hate that argument. Do you know what a bullet is? Understand me?
Okay.
Do you know what a bullet is? And the 20-year-old guy that fired was also killed. Understand me? I hope you know that. So the guy will go that to act skit or to stage a movie to die. Can you do that? Can you do that? So this was a failure of security, a failure on the part of the CIA and the FBI. Because anywhere a presidential candidate is in the United States, they're supposed to guard 500 yards perimeter where the president is, or where that presidential candidate is. They did not do that. Iran don't want Donald Trump. Because in the first tenure of Donald Trump, he crippled their economy. He turned Iran into a beggar nation. And they knew that coming again, he's going to do that same thing. So this is a brainwashed, fanatical boy who wants to take away Donald Trump. So the whole thing is real. And mind you, because of that, the CIA head resigned. Understand that?
Yeah.
The CIA head resigned which means he accepted the responsibility for the failure. But mind you, Nigerians, nobody resigns in this country. Understand me? Nobody resigns in this country. They will make a mess of everything and will still be in office. That's why Mahmoud Yakub is still in office. That's why the power minister is still in office. Understand? So anybody saying that what happened was faked is living in denial. That was an assassination attempt on Donald Trump, but by the grace of God, he survived. And without that assassination attempt, he would still have won because Joe Biden wasn't doing well. 76% of Americans said that their country was moving in the wrong direction. Harris is a shoe shiner. There's no way Harris will have won the election. So everything was against them in the 2024 presidential election in the United States. Biden is already 82. There's no way, and with his mental thing, imagine what he's doing now and add 4 more years. There's no way Americans will have allowed that. Watch him in Ghana. There was a conference, he was doing what? Sleeping. Understand? So there's no way Americans will have allowed that.
All right, let's move over to Syria's war, where the Syrian army withdraws from Hamas as opposition forces, enter the key city, which they said the reason for the redeployment of their forces is to preserve civilian lives and to prevent urban combat, So how do you actually react to
That's a
that?
lie. That is a lie.
Okay.
You cannot say what is happening in Israel at Syria and without talking about Israel. Israel and again Donald Trump, because Iran is the one financing most of the terrorist groups in the world. Understand? Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthi, understand me? Then they are the ones in Syria understand me, ISIS, all of them are being sponsored by Iran. But now Hamas has been decimated. Hezbollah has been decimated. So nothing again is working for the president of Syria, Assad. Understand? So assuming that Iran was still standing, Assad would have been continued to be getting support. But with what Israel is doing in the Middle East, no more support is again coming. And mind you, Russia is one of those backing him. But now Russia is faced with their war in Ukraine. Mm-hmm. So he's standing alone. He is standing alone. Those that are backing him, Iran and Russia, are no more backing him. They are now facing their own problems. So Assad is now alone. So these people now, the rebels now decided to take this advantage. Understand me?
Yeah.
So this is the best time that to strike, and they understand me. So Assad is unknown at the moment because Russia is facing their own war. Yeah. Iran is coming down because 20th of January is almost here. Understand? Israel has decimated Hamas and Hezbollah. Understand me? So, and I'm sure within a short time, these rebels will take over everywhere.
Well, we hope that does not happen. Should we take that as your concluding thoughts?
Well, Assad is a murderer. Go and read his history. He's a murderer. Oh, well, he's not a Democrat.
Can't really say that he is a murderer on
ICC has a case against him.
Oh well, yes, but that's such a strong word to use, though.
So somebody that ICC has a case, I should be calling him a gentleman.
Well, let's have your concluding thoughts there.
Okay, for me, populism is taking over everywhere in the world, including France, Germany. That's what happened in UK. Understand? That the conservative there, led by Sunak, was pushed away. That's what happened in Argentina, in Mexico. That's why today Mexico has a female president. Okay. So it's happening everywhere. And there's no way you can stop it when other people unite and say no.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Peter Anosike, for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
You're still watching the World News on Voice of the People TV. More stories after this break. Stay with us. Welcome back and thanks for staying tuned. Russia has responded to Ukraine with long-range weapons and sustained ground assaults in the country's east during the past week, showing little sign of weakness in the supply of men or arms as Ukraine tried to ensure that the U.S. presidential transition would not affect military aid. While they did not capture new settlements, Russian forces maintained their strongest pressure on the towns of Pokrovsk and Kharkov in Donetsk, devoting almost half of their activity to those fronts. Russian strength has not lessened since the beginning of the year, when Moscow's forces began a gradual increase of attacks that put Ukrainian forces on the defensive. Moving on, Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has traveled to Malta for a European security summit, marking his first visit to an EU state since the full-scale invasion of Ukraine. His Ukrainian counterpart, Andriy Sebag, who is also attending the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe meeting, walked out of the hall ahead of Lavrov's remarks. Lavrov's attendance has proved controversial, with Poland's foreign minister refusing to meet him, branding the diplomat a war criminal. The Russian foreign minister accused the West of fueling a new Cold War with a much greater risk of a transition to a hot one. Authorities in Romania have revealed details of what appears to be a major attempt to interfere in the country's presidential elections using the social media platform TikTok and with a series of cyber attacks. Romania's domestic intelligence service says there are signs that the effort was coordinated by a state-sponsored actor, calling George a far-right NATO skeptic who has previously praised Russian President Vladimir Putin, who almost unknown in Romania until he won the first round of voting in the presidential elections 2 weeks ago. Romanian intelligence now say his sudden and surprise rise in popularity is down to a highly organized and aggressive campaign on social media, sharing identical messaging and using influencers. A Georgian opposition leader has been dragged from his party office by police, and others have been physically attacked after Prime Minister Irakli Kobasi vowed that organizers of a week of pro-EU protests, which he called violent actions, would face justice. Nika Gavramia, a leader from one of the opposition groups, was carried by his arms and legs by police from his party headquarters in a side street next to Parliament in the capital, Tbilisi. Nightly demonstrations have been held since last Thursday after ruling party Georgian Dream said it was halting the country's bid to start talks on joining the EU. More than 330 protesters have been arrested, and rights groups say many have been beaten in detention. However, authorities started going after opposition leaders after a strong briefing from Prime Minister Irakli Kobasi. A Pakistan court has issued an arrest warrant for Busra Bibi, the wife of former Prime Minister Imran Khan, in a corruption case. Khan and Bibi are accused of selling state-owned gifts worth over 140 million Pakistan rupees that the jailed leader received during his tenure as Prime Minister. Also, Judge Shaku Ajmand issued a bailable arrest warrant for Bibi. The development comes after police charged Khan and Bibi, along with several other people, under anti-terror laws for inciting violence during protests demanding the former Prime Minister's release from prison later last month. Moving on, jailed former Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak today mounted a fresh legal bid to serve his remaining prison sentence under house arrest, though court proceedings were cut short to allow prosecutors time to review new evidence. Najib is appealing a lower court decision in July that struck out his request for a judicial review to compel the government to confirm the existence of and execute a royal order entitling him to serve the remainder of his jail term at home. Najib was jailed in 2022, 2 years after being found guilty of criminal breach of trust and abuse of power for illegally receiving funds misappropriated from a unit of state fund. Malaysian and U.S. investigators estimate $4.5 billion was stolen from the fund and more than $1 billion channeled to accounts linked to Najib. We'll go on another quick break and the world news return with more stories. Stay with us. Now to some business stories. Bitcoin has shattered the $100,000 milestone, riding a wave of investor confidence sparked by U.S. President-elect Donald Trump's pro-crypto drive. The world's largest cryptocurrency surged as high as $103,800 today, marking the 50% rise since Trump's November election win. The rally intensified after Trump nominated crypto advocate Paul Atkins to lead the Securities and Exchange Commission, signaling a shift toward a more favorable regulatory environment. Atkins' appointment, along with Trump's pledge to make the U.S. the Bitcoin superpower of the world, has stimulated the market. Still in business, Airbus says it will cut 477 jobs in the UK as a plane maker scales back its space business and tries to trim costs. More than 2,000 jobs of its workforce will be lost globally by mid-2026. The company said in a statement that compulsory job cuts are not planned, adding almost all of the positions affected do not relate to specific projects or programs. The cuts come as the firm's profit fall even as its sales rise, with the plane maker admitting in July it was struggling with bottlenecks in its supply chain. The job cuts will also be spread out geographically, with the bulk occurring in Western Europe. Now to some sports stories. Liverpool's lead at the top of the Premier League was cut to 7 points after a thrilling 3-3 draw with Newcastle on Wednesday. Chelsea moved up to second by thrashing last-place Southampton 5-1, with Arsenal is third after a 2-0 win over Manchester United. Fourth place Manchester City ended its 7-game winless run with a 3-0 victory over Nottingham Forest. Liverpool's result will give hope to its title rivals after Fabian Schär's 9th-minute equaliser at St James Park. Onslaught's team had twice come back from a goal down to take the lead in the 83rd through Mohamed Salah's second goal of the match. But the Merseyside club was denied an 8th straight win in all competitions, where Newcastle produced a fight back of its own. Still in sports, skateboarder Sky Brown, para-swimmer William Ellard, and darts player Luke Litter have been shortlisted for the BBC Young Sports Personality of the Year award. A panel selected 10 outstanding young people from a long list before narrowing that down to a top 3. The winner will be announced live on the BBC Sports Personality of the Year show on Tuesday, 17th December. Last year, snowboarder Mia Brooks won the award after she became the youngest world champion in snowboarding and Britain's first in slopestyle amount after turning 16. And that is all on World News on Voice of the People TV. Thanks for watching. Do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. On YouTube, we are at Voice of the People TV. And other social media handles, we're at VAP TV Live. Thank you for watching. I'm Masinachi Okafo.